The crimson light of her tactical display cast eerie shadows across Thalia Kavor's azure features as she piloted her stealth vessel toward the human outpost. Her silver eyes narrowed, focusing on the small cluster of buildings that made up Frontier's Edge, a forgotten trading post on the border of Terran-controlled space. After 3 relentless weeks of tracking, her quarry was cornered. Target location confirmed, she murmured to herself, her melodic alien accent contrasting with the clinical precision of her words. Krell Daven, your freedom ends tonight. The notorious smuggler had evaded the Galactic Enforcement Agency for years, but no one escaped Thalia. As the GEA's most decorated hunter, her record remained unblemished. 27 consecutive captures had earned her both respect and fear throughout the 5 systems. Thalia activated her bioarmor, the responsive material flowing across her body like liquid metal until it hardened into a sleek, form-fitting suit. The scar that ran from her left temple to jaw remained exposed, a reminder of her first hunt and the price of overconfidence. She would not make that mistake again. The outpost's primitive security systems were no match for her technology. Thalia landed her ship in the shadow of a nearby canyon and approached on foot, moving like a phantom through the night. Her enhanced senses detected only minimal life signs within the settlement, unusual but not concerning enough to abort. "Let's make this quick," she whispered, checking her pulse disruptor one final time before entering the outpost's perimeter. The settlement was eerily quiet as she moved between the prefabricated structures. No guards, no civilians, just empty walkways illuminated by flickering lights. Thalia consulted her tracker, which pulsed steadily toward the largest building at the outpost center. Inside, darkness greeted her. Thalia switched to thermal vision but found nothing. The building appeared empty, yet her tracker insisted Daven was here. She moved deeper into the structure, past abandoned workstations and dormant equipment. "Something isn't right," she muttered, her instincts screaming warnings her mind refused to process. Too late, she noticed the subtle disruption field emanating from the floor beneath her. A human trap, primitive but effective. Her bioarmor seized, circuits overloading as her weapon systems crashed. Thalia stumbled, fighting to remain standing as her enhanced abilities failed one by one. "I was beginning to think you wouldn't show," a deep male voice echoed through the darkness. Lights blazed on, momentarily blinding her. As her vision cleared, she found herself facing a tall human male standing confidently across the room. His dark hair was pulled back from a face marked by experience rather than age, with intelligent gray eyes that assessed her with unsettling precision. "Elias Blackwood," she hissed, recognizing the former GEA intelligence officer who had disappeared 3 years ago. "Where is Daven?" Elias smiled, the expression never reaching his eyes. "There is no Daven, at least not here. That was just the lure to bring you to me, Commander Kavor." Thalia lunged forward, but her legs gave out as the disruption field intensified. She collapsed to her knees, defenseless for the first time in her career. "Don't waste your energy," Elias said, approaching slowly. "The field is calibrated specifically to your biosignature. I've studied you for months." "If you're planning to kill me, get on with it," Thalia snarled, fighting to maintain her dignity even in defeat. Elias crouched before her, close enough that she could smell the earthy scent of him, so distinctly human. "If I wanted you dead, we wouldn't be having this conversation." His voice softened unexpectedly. "I didn't bring you here to harm you, Thalia. I brought you here to save you." Her silver eyes met his, confusion replacing anger. "What are you talking about?" "The life you think you're living is a lie," he said, holding out a data crystal. "And I can prove it." Thalia stared at him, the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy, now completely at the mercy of her human captor, and entirely unprepared for what would come next. "You have 1 minute to explain before I find a way to kill you," Thalia growled, her silver eyes fixed on Elias as he circled her kneeling form. Despite her disabled weapons and compromised armor, she remained dangerous, a fact Elias seemed well aware of as he maintained a careful distance. "The Galactic Enforcement Agency isn't what you think it is," he said, activating a holographic display that materialized between them. "For the past 5 years, you've been their most effective assassin, not their top bounty hunter." Images flickered before her eyes, familiar faces of targets she'd brought to justice, alongside classified documents bearing the GEA seal. These individuals weren't criminals. They were political dissidents, witnesses to corruption, or simply obstacles to the agency's expansion. Thalia's expression hardened. "Convenient lies from a human fugitive. You expect me to believe my entire career is a fabrication." Elias approached a console and retrieved a small metal cylinder. "This contains the neural block inhibitor that was implanted in your cerebral cortex during your training. It allows the agency to compartmentalize your memories, replacing the truth with whatever narrative serves their purpose. He knelt before her close enough that she could strike if her strength returned. The gesture wasn't lost on Thalia, he was offering himself as proof of his sincerity. "Why would you care what happens to me?" she demanded, uncomfortable with his proximity and the doubt now seeding itself in her mind. "Because I was once like you," he replied quietly. "An asset they used and discarded when I discovered the truth. The difference is I escaped before they could silence me permanently." Thalia studied his face, searching for deception but finding only intensity and something else. Compassion, perhaps. It had been so long since anyone had looked at her with anything but fear. "If what you're saying is true, removing this block could kill me," she reasoned, her tactical mind already calculating possibilities. "It could," he admitted, "but living as their puppet, is that truly living?" Something in his words resonated within her. Thalia had never questioned her assignments, never wondered at the growing emptiness each successful capture left behind. The very fact that she was considering his claims suggested some truth to them. "You're offering me freedom," she stated, not a question but a realization. Ilias nodded, "Freedom, truth, and a chance for something new. The choice is yours." He stood and deactivated the disruption field. The sudden return of her strength caught Thalia by surprise. She rose fluidly to her feet, her bioarmor partially functional again though her weapons remained offline. "You're releasing me, even knowing I could kill you where you stand." Her voice held genuine confusion. "I'm showing you what freedom looks like," he replied. "Kill me or listen to me, your choice freely made, perhaps the first real choice you've had in years." Instead of attacking, Thalia found herself walking to the display, examining the evidence more carefully. Dates, coordinates, mission parameters, details that aligned perfectly with her own records but painted a very different picture of her actions. "How would removing this block work?" she asked finally, turning to face him. Relief flickered across Ilia's features. "It requires a specialized electromagnetic pulse, focused and calibrated to your specific neural pattern. I have the equipment here, it's why I chose this location." Thalia approached him slowly, her proximity causing his pulse to quicken, a reaction her enhanced senses detected easily. "And after, what exactly are you proposing?" "Partnership," Ilias said, holding her gaze steadily. "Your skills and my intelligence. Together we could expose the agency and stop them from creating more like you, like us." His scent enveloped her again, and Thalia became acutely aware of how long it had been since she'd been this close to anyone without violent intent. Something primitive and long suppressed stirred within her. "I'll need proof beyond these documents," she said, her voice lower, almost intimate in the quiet room. "Of course," Ilias replied, tension evident in the subtle shift of his muscles. "But first, we should move. The agency monitors your vital signs. They'll know something's wrong when your neural patterns change during our conversation." As if on cue, an alarm sounded from her ship's communication relay. Thalia's eyes widened. "They're already coming." "Then it seems you need to make your decision now," Ilias said, offering his hand. "Trust me or face them alone." Her fingers interlaced with his, an unfamiliar sensation that sent unexpected warmth through her engineered body. "Show me the truth," Ilias Blackwood, "before they make sure neither of us lives to see it." Deep beneath the outpost, Ilias' hidden facility hummed with power. Thalia sat motionless in the neural calibration chair, electrodes attached to her temple as Ilias prepared the equipment to disable her neural block. "This will hurt," he warned, focused on the delicate adjustments. "Your mind will be flooded with memories the agency suppressed, possibly years of them." Thalia watched his hands move with practiced precision. "You've done this before." "On myself," he replied, not looking up. "It was unpleasant." "Why are you really helping me?" she asked, studying the concentration in his features. "Your explanation about partnership is logical, but there's something more." Ilias paused, finally meeting her gaze. "3 years ago, I was assigned to your psychological assessment team. I saw what they were doing to you, how they were weaponizing someone extraordinary. I couldn't stop it then. I can now." His admission hung between them, personal in a way that made Thalia uncomfortable. Emotions were foreign territory. The agency had seen to that through chemical suppressants and conditioning. "Ready?" he asked, hand poised over the activation switch. Thalia nodded, bracing herself. Pain exploded behind her eyes as the electromagnetic pulse penetrated her neural pathways. She arched against the restraints, a scream tearing from her throat. Memories cascaded through her consciousness, targets begging for mercy, explaining conspiracies she'd been programmed to dismiss, children crying as she took their parents away, all while believing she was serving justice. When it ended, she slumped forward, gasping. Elias was there immediately, supporting her as tremors racked her body. "Breathe through it," he murmured, his arms steady around her. "The physical symptoms will pass." Thalia clutched at him, anchoring herself against the psychological storm. "I remember everything," she whispered, horror and rage warring within her. The things I've done." "It wasn't you," Elias insisted, his hand moving soothingly along her spine. "You were their instrument, not the hand that directed it." They remained like that, predator and prey transformed into something undefined, until Thalia's breathing steadied. She became aware of his warmth, the steady rhythm of his heart against her ear, the strange comfort his human scent provided. Slowly she pulled back, unused to prolonged contact. "How long before the agency reaches the outpost?" 8 hours, maybe less," he answered, reluctantly releasing her. "We need to move soon." Thalia stood, testing her balance. "My ship." "Compromised, they can track it, we'll take mine." Elias gestured toward a small weapons array. "Your equipment is there, I've disabled the agency tracking functions." As she reclaimed her weapons, Thalia observed him preparing their escape. The human moved with efficient grace, his actions betraying military training beyond his intelligence background. "You've been planning this a long time," she noted, checking her pulse disruptor. Elias smiled faintly. "Since the day I escaped, you weren't the only one they used, just the most effective." "And the most dangerous," she added, a question in her tone. "I'm counting on that," he replied, the intensity in his eyes making something flutter in her abdomen. Hours later, as they prepared the ship for departure, proximity alarms blared. Elias cursed, accessing the security feeds. "Agency scouts, they've arrived earlier than expected." Thalia moved to his side, studying the tactical display. 4 agents, stealth approach, standard extraction protocol. "Can you handle them?" he asked, continuing launch preparations. She gave him a look that made him chuckle despite the danger. "Right, stupid question." "Keep working," she instructed, checking her weapons one final time. "I'll ensure our departure remains uninterrupted." As she turned to leave, Elias caught her wrist. The contact sent an unexpected current through her body, nothing like the electrical pulse from earlier. This was something primal, something the agency's conditioning hadn't fully erased. "Be careful," he said simply. Thalia found herself responding to the concern in his voice, leaning closer until their faces were inches apart. "This is what I was designed for, Elias." "No," he countered, his breath warm against her lips. "You were designed for so much more, they just never let you discover it." She pulled away, unsettled by how his words resonated within her. 8 minutes, be ready to launch. Outside, under the crimson sky of dusk, Thalia moved like a shadow among the outpost structures. Her enhanced senses detected the agency agents easily. Their stealth technology was familiar to her, its weaknesses known. One by one, she incapacitated them, quick and efficient. The last agent recognized her before losing consciousness. "Traitor," he spat, blood trickling from his mouth. Thalia knelt beside him. "No, for the first time I'm being loyal to something that matters, the truth." When she returned, Elias was waiting at the ship's ramp. 4 minutes to spare, he noted, admiration evident in his voice. Thalia approached, still riding the biochemical high of combat. Without the agency's suppressants, emotions flowed more freely, including ones she barely recognized. She stopped before him, studying the human who had upended her existence. "We should go," she said, but made no move to board. Elias stepped closer, seemingly drawn by the same invisible force. "Thalia." She closed the distance, pressing her lips to his with unpracticed urgency. Elias froze momentarily before responding, his hands finding her waist as the kiss deepened. When they separated, both breathless, Thalia's silver eyes held confusion and wonder. That was unexpected. Elias smiled, a genuine expression that transformed his features. A good unexpected. "I'm still deciding," she replied, the ghost of a smile touching her lips as she stepped past him into the ship. "But we have time to figure it out, assuming we survive." The depths of space offered temporary sanctuary as Elia's ship raced from the outpost, its advanced cloaking system confounding agency tracking. In the confined quarters, Thalia studied the star charts while Elias monitored communications. "They've declared you rogue," he reported, intercepting encrypted agency transmissions. "Maximum bounty for your capture, dead or alive." Thalia's mouth curved in bitter amusement. "Ironic, the hunter becomes the hunted." "They fear you," Elias said, moving to stand beside her. "With good reason." In the dim blue light of the navigation console, their proximity felt significant. Without the agency's emotional suppressants in her system, Thalia experienced sensations with new intensity, especially those concerning the human beside her. "What's the next step in your grand plan?" she asked, attempting to focus on their survival rather than the memory of their kiss. "We head to Meridian Station," he replied. "I have contacts there, people who have been gathering evidence against the agency for years. With your testimony and neural data, we'll have enough to expose them to the Galactic Council." Thalia's fingers traced the route on the star chart. "Meridian is an agency stronghold. They'll be waiting for us. Which is why we'll approach from the mining tunnels beneath the commercial sector," Elias explained, leaning closer to indicate a series of maintenance shafts. "It's how I escaped 3 years ago." His scent enveloped her again, triggering responses her body had never been permitted to acknowledge. Thalia stepped away, creating distance. "Something wrong?" he asked, noticing her retreat. Everything, she admitted, facing him. These feelings, they're unfamiliar, distracting. Understanding dawned in Elias' eyes. The neural block didn't just suppress memories, it regulated your emotional responses, kept you focused solely on the mission. "Zan now you're experiencing everything without filters," he said gently. "It's overwhelming at first." Thalia paced the small cabin, agitated. "How did you manage after your block was removed?" "Not well," Elias confessed with a rueful smile. "I isolated myself for months. Emotions are messy, especially guilt." His honesty resonated with her. The weight of her actions, of lives taken in the name of false justice, pressed against her consciousness. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted, vulnerability foreign on her features. "Any of it." Elias approached slowly, telegraphing his movements. "You don't have to know, you just have to allow yourself to feel it, all of it." His hand reached for hers, fingers interlacing. The simple contact anchored her amid the emotional storm. Thalia found herself leaning into him, seeking stability. "What if I become lost in it?" she whispered against his chest. "I won't let that happen," he promised, arms encircling her. The ship's alarm shattered the moment, proximity warnings flashing red across the console. "Agency interceptor," Elias confirmed, pulling away to access the controls. "They've found us." Thalia moved to the weapons station, instantly focused. Weapons capability. Limited, this vessel was designed for stealth, not combat. The interceptor fired, a glancing blow that rocked their ship. Emergency systems engaged as Elias executed evasive maneuvers. "We need somewhere to hide," he grunted, hands flying across the navigation panel. "There, asteroid field at bearing 227, it might buy us time." Thalia analyzed the tactical display. "They'll follow us in. These interceptors are designed for pursuit in complex environments." "Then we make it more complex," Elias replied, setting a course directly for the densest part of the field. What followed was a deadly dance among the floating giants. Elias piloted with exceptional skill for a human, each maneuver more daring than the last. Thalia provided covering fire when possible, disrupting the interceptor's targeting systems. A massive asteroid loomed before them. Instead of avoiding it, Elias accelerated. "What are you doing?" Thalia demanded, bracing for impact. "Trust me," he replied, eyes fixed on a narrow fissure in the rock face. The ship screamed through the opening with bare centimeters to spare, entering a cavernous interior space. Behind them, the interceptor attempted to follow but miscalculated, colliding with the asteroid's surface in a brilliant explosion. Emergency lighting bathed the cabin in red as their damaged ship settled on the asteroid's inner surface. Systems failed one by one as Elias initiated shutdown protocols. "Life support is compromised," he reported grimly. "We have maybe 6 hours before oxygen levels become critical." Thalia assessed their situation with tactical precision. "Repairs. Possible, but I'll need time." She nodded, decision made. "Then we'd better start." They worked in synchronized efficiency, their survival depending on seamless cooperation. Hours passed in focused silence until Elias finally stepped back from the engine access panel, wiping grease from his hands. "That should hold," he said, exhaustion evident in his voice. "But we're not going anywhere until the primary power coupling rebuilds its charge, at least 8 hours." Thalia checked their oxygen reserves. "That's cutting it close." "We could conserve oxygen," Elias suggested, a hint of mischief breaking through his fatigue. "Shared body heat is an efficient survival technique." Despite everything, Thalia found herself smiling. "Is that a scientific observation, Blackwood?" "Absolutely," he replied, moving closer. "I'm dedicated to our survival." The tension between them had built steadily during their ordeal, heightened by danger and proximity. When Elias reached for her this time, Thalia met him halfway. Their kiss was different now, not the desperate impulse of earlier but something exploratory, deliberate. His hands traced the contours of her bioarmor, finding the release mechanisms with surprising knowledge. "How did you?" she began. "I told you," he murmured against her neck, "I studied you." The armor retracted, revealing the form beneath, blue skin marked with luminescent patterns that glowed brighter at his touch. Elias' eyes darkened with appreciation and something more primal. "Beautiful," he whispered, reverence in his voice. Thalia had never been called beautiful. Deadly, efficient, perfect, these were the words the agency had used. Beautiful was something else entirely, something human and vulnerable. Her own hands explored him with equal curiosity, discovering the differences between their species. Where she was cool and smooth, he was warm and textured. The contrast fascinated her. "Show me," she commanded softly, guiding his hands. "Show me what it means to feel without restraint." In the dim emergency light, they came together, alien and human, finding common language in desire. Each touch, each kiss was a revelation to Thalia, sensations cascading through her liberated nervous system with overwhelming intensity. Later, nestled against him in the ship's small sleeping compartment, Thalia traced the scars that marked his body, evidence of a life lived dangerously. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly, freeing me, becoming a target. Elias lifted her chin, meeting her silver gaze. "Not for a moment." The ship hummed around them as systems slowly recovered, the danger temporarily abated but far from over. Tomorrow would bring new threats, new challenges, but tonight, in this asteroid sanctuary, they had found something neither had expected: connection. Meridian Station loomed before them, its massive structure suspended in synchronous orbit around a gas giant. From their approach vector, the station resembled a gleaming wheel, its spokes connecting the central hub to the outer residential rings. Beautiful and deadly, the perfect metaphor for the agency's public face. "Control is requesting identification," Thalia reported from the communications console. Elias transmitted the forged credentials they'd prepared. "Now we find out if my contacts are still in place." Tense moments passed before the station's automated defense system stood down, allowing their approach. They docked in the commercial sector, their damaged vessel attracting little attention among the countless transport ships. "Remember," Elias cautioned as they prepared to disembark, "we'll be monitored the moment we step off this ship. Stay close, keep your head down." Thalia adjusted the civilian clothes she now wore, restrictive compared to her bioarmor but necessary for anonymity. "These clothes are impractical for combat." Elias smiled, helping her adjust the hood that concealed her distinctive features. "That's rather the point. We're trying to avoid combat." "A novel approach," she replied dryly, her attempt at humor rewarded by his chuckle. The station's interior bustled with activity, merchants, travelers, and station personnel navigating the crowded concourses. Thalia remained close to Elias, overwhelmed by the sensory input. Without her bioarmor's filtering systems, the cacophony of sounds, smells, and movements threatened to overload her enhanced senses. Elias noticed her discomfort, his hand finding hers. "Focus on me," he murmured, "just me." She anchored herself to his presence as they navigated through the crowd toward the lower levels. Twice, they passed agency security patrols, each time Thalia's body tensing for confrontation that Elias' steady grip prevented. The maintenance tunnels beneath the commercial sector provided welcome relief from the crowds. Elias led them through a labyrinth of service corridors until they reached an unmarked door. 3 precise knocks, followed by 2 slow ones. The door opened to reveal a small operations center where a dozen people worked at various stations. An older woman with silver-streaked hair approached them, embracing Elias with familiar affection. "Cutting it close as usual," she remarked before turning her attention to Thalia. "So this is the infamous Commander Kavor." "This is Admiral Helena Vega," Elias explained. "Former GEA intelligence director, now the leader of our resistance network." Thalia's eyes widened in recognition. "You were reported dead 3 years ago." "The agency finds it convenient to eliminate problems permanently," Helena replied, "at least on paper." Within the hour, Thalia found herself connected to advanced medical equipment, neural patterns being recorded as evidence while she recounted her experiences. Each memory extracted was another piece of evidence against the agency, and another burden lifted from her conscience. "The neural data confirms everything," Helena announced when they'd finished. "Combined with our existing evidence, this will be enough to convince the Galactic Council to dismantle the agency entirely." How soon? Elias asked, his hand resting protectively on Thalia's shoulder. The council convenes in 3 days. Our representatives will present the case then. Helena's expression turned grave. But we've received intelligence that the agency knows something is happening. They're accelerating operations, eliminating potential witnesses. We need to move the evidence off station, Elias concluded. They'll lock down Meridian the moment they suspect what we're doing. My ship is prepared, Helena confirmed. We depart in 2 hours. You two should rest while you can. In their assigned quarters, Thalia paced restlessly. It's too easy, she insisted. The agency would never allow this much evidence to accumulate without taking action. Elias watched her from the bed, concern etched in his features. Helena's network has been careful. The agency doesn't know the full scope of what we have. They don't need to, Thalia countered. They just need to eliminate us before we reach the council. Her instincts screamed warning, the same instincts that had kept her alive through countless missions. Something was wrong. The realization struck her with sudden clarity. The neural scan, they can track it. The agency monitors all medical equipment on Meridian for exactly this purpose. Elias was immediately alert, you're sure? It's how I found dissidents before, she admitted. Neural patterns are like fingerprints, they'll know I'm here. As if confirming her fears, emergency alarms blared throughout the station. Helena burst into their quarters, expression grim. Agency forces are boarding from multiple points, she reported. We're compromised. How long until your ship is ready? Elias demanded, already collecting their essential gear. 30 minutes minimum, Helena replied. I need to transfer the data cores. Thalia met Elias' gaze, decision made. Get the Admiral to her ship. I'll create a diversion. No, Elias objected immediately. That's suicide. It's strategy, she corrected him. I know their protocols, their formations. I can lead them away while you escape with the evidence. We go together or not at all, he insisted, stepping closer. I didn't free you just to lose you. The intensity in his eyes made her heart race. This new existence, filled with emotions with him, was barely beginning. The thought of losing it sent pain through her chest unlike anything she'd experienced. Helena interrupted their standoff. There's another option. The station's primary communications array. If we could broadcast the evidence directly to all Galactic Council members simultaneously, it wouldn't matter if we escaped. The array is in the central hub, Elias noted, heavily guarded even without the current alert. Then we'll need to be persuasive, Thalia replied, retrieving her weapons. What followed was a desperate race against time. Thalia led them through service tunnels and emergency passages, her knowledge of agency tactics allowing them to avoid most confrontations. When fighting became inevitable, she moved with lethal efficiency, Elias matching her rhythm as if they'd fought together for years. They reached the communications center as agency reinforcements converged on their position. Helena worked frantically to upload the evidence while Elias and Thalia held off the assault. It's done, Helena called finally. Transmission complete. All council members have received the data package. Relief was short-lived as the station rocked with explosions. They're targeting the structural supports, Elias realized. They'll destroy the entire station rather than let us escape. Evacuation pods are this way, Helena directed, leading them through the chaos. They reached the evacuation bay to find it already swarming with agency operatives. Helena fell in the first volley, the data core she carried shattering beside her. Go, she gasped, pressing an access card into Elias' hand. Docking Bay 17, my ship will recognize this. The evidence is already transmitted, make sure someone lives to verify it. They fought their way to the specified bay, the station breaking apart around them. Helena's ship was there as promised, its systems accepting the access card without question. As they prepared for emergency launch, agency forces breached the docking bay. Thalia engaged them while Elias completed the startup sequence. Thalia now, he shouted as the engines fired. She retreated to the ship, taking a hit to her shoulder before the airlock sealed behind her. The vessel tore free of the disintegrating station, accelerating away from the expanding debris field. In the safety of hyperspace, Elias treated her wound with gentle hands. That was too close, he murmured, applying regenerative gel to the laser burn. We succeeded, Thalia reminded him, wincing slightly. The evidence reached the council. At what cost? He asked, grief for Helena and the others evident in his voice. Thalia touched his face, drawing his gaze to hers. The cost of freedom is always high. Helena knew that, so do we. The ship's communications system chimed, interrupting their moment. A priority message from a Galactic Council representative appeared on screen, confirming receipt of the evidence and requesting their testimony at an emergency session. "It's really happening," Elias said, wonder in his voice. "The agency will fall." "And what then?" Thalia asked, the question that had haunted her since her liberation finally spoken aloud. "What becomes of us?" Elias took her hands in his, the gesture now familiar and treasured. "That's the beauty of freedom, Thalia, we choose." "I've never chosen before," she admitted, "not really." "Then let this be your first real choice," he said softly. "Stay with me, not because you need me or because I freed you, but because you want to." Thalia considered the human before her, the one who had risked everything to show her truth, who had awakened feelings she never knew existed, who looked at her and saw beyond the weapon the agency had created. "I choose you," she said simply, the words carrying the weight of her newfound freedom. "I choose us." Weapon Survivor embraced the most dangerous and exhilarating reality of all. A future of her own making, with a man who had offered not control but choice. In that moment, surrounded by the infinite possibilities of space, she understood that the trap she had walked into on that remote outpost had not been her downfall but her salvation. The beginning of a journey neither of them could have imagined, but both now cherished above all else.